ridiculous. He'll say like, Clayton, for example, the final rose tonight. What is this show? If you thought I was gonna get down on myself enough to quit YouTube, then you had the wrong one. Today, I am doing the Lord's work by promoting an issue I feel is very important to most of civilization, no matter what country or state. The Bachelor. It has been brought to my attention that there is a large population of people who don't know the ins and outs of this industry. So I felt like I should talk about it and educate, or Audrey-cate, if you will. So let's talk about it. I'm trying to wipe the slate clean and imagine a world where I don't know anything about The Bachelor or Bachelorette. So let's start with the very premise of it, which I think a lot of people do understand. It's that there is one bachelor or one bachelorette. We started with one bachelor who was, literally have to look up his name. I'm such a big fan. There have been 20 seasons of The Bachelor. The first one was Alex Michelle. Our most recent one was Clayton. Rest in peace, that was not the best. The Bachelors are notorious for picking a girl that they don't end up with, no shade. Or they pick a woman and then they end up changing their mind and picking their runner-up. No shade, Ari. Or, what was his name? Jason. I personally started watching The Bachelor with Jason's season, and that was iconic. I don't even know where to begin about this man. Jason picked a woman named Melissa Rycroft, who you might know of, but then when it came to after the final rose, he decided to break up with her live on television and then try to pursue Molly, his runner-up, all in the same segment. So let's just rewind. Bachelor. What The Bachelor is it's one man and he has around 30 women compete for his heart. On the first night, he stands in front of the mansion and one by one women come out of a limo to meet him and then go inside. So he's standing there, one woman talks to him, does something extremely cringy, and then goes into the mansion, and he does this one by one till he gets through every single woman, and then he comes in, does his little ding 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 toast. The women pull him aside and compete with each other, just cut the throats of everyone they can in order to get some time alone with him, which usually lasts about 90 seconds before another girl comes in and just swoops him away. A few hours later, I've heard it actually ends up lasting until the early morning of the next day, where daylight is upon us. He does a rose ceremony and eliminates a few of these women, which has to hurt so bad. I don't even want to think about it because I know I would be one of them if I went on this show. I know I would be one of the first of the crop to go. The rose ceremony. If it's a guy bachelor, then he will have a table or a podium, if you will, next to him with all of these long-stemmed roses. He will pick up one of the roses and then call their names one at a time. When it's filmed, a producer will help him with the names and he'll call them one by one and they'll come up till there is one rose left and a few ladies who are eagerly waiting to find out if they will be the recipient. Chris Harrison, rest in peace, would come up and say, "Ladies and gentlemen." So ridiculous. Ladies, and he'll say like, "Clayton, for example, the final rose tonight." What is this show? And then the bachelor will call out the name of the last girl he wants to save, or the producer will. I like to call the last rose the warning rose, because usually it means you are on the brink of being eliminated and the bachelor is trying to tell you, like, get it together. So the warning rose is awarded. We get a toast from the bachelor, and then usually the bachelor will announce that they're going to a new location: Bora Bora, Japan, Egypt, Canada, Paris, you know, what have you. They go to a new exotic location that has sponsored the episode. And at this new location, they'll have their first batch of dates. It's usually 1 or 2 group dates and 1 or 2 one-on-one dates. And the way they announce these dates is they get a little knock-knock at the door and there's a date card waiting there where it has some sort of weird saying like, ladies, let's take off into the sunset together, love, and then the bachelor's name, and then it'll have a list of the girls on it if it's a group date, and if it's a one-on-one, then it'll be like Trixie, let's fall in love, love, the bachelor's name, and then they'll all speculate on what this is hinting towards the date being about, what they'll be doing on the date, and it's so ridiculous because obviously the Bachelor did not write these cards. It's beautiful penmanship. And they'll have those dates happen, and when it's a one-on-one date, he awards a rose at the end of it if he wants to keep her, or if he's a complete savage, he will not give it to her. And she will be eliminated, but she doesn't even get to go back to her hotel room. They just cut to the group of women in the hotel, and then like a bellhop coming to roll her suitcase out, and they never see her again. Now on the group dates, they can give away a group date rose, which is awarded to the girl that pisses off the other girls the most, basically, but in actuality it's the girl who he connected with the most that night. But it really just, imagine a man walking into a group of women and giving one a rose and the others having to watch, and then her getting the rose, him walking away, and them all mingling after. And usually that starts a bunch of drama, which it is designed to do. So that's amazing. After a week of 1 or 2 one-on-one dates and 1 or 2 group dates, then we have another rose ceremony, and the same process takes place for the next few weeks and episodes until it dwindles down to the cream of the crop, the most controversial, the ones that get the most viewers, and then the one he actually likes. So I don't really watch many episodes until it gets to the good stuff. Now let me tell you about the final 4. Now what happens once we get to the final 4 is hometowns. Oh, hometowns. This is when things really start to escalate. And you know, the season kind of like goes like this, you know, and then once we get to hometowns, it's just like every man for themselves, and it becomes survival of the fittest to get that final rose. Once we have the final 4, we get hometowns, which is where the Bachelor will go to each one of the final 4 women's hometowns and meet their families. And the families usually are either cringe, I mean, who am I kidding, they're all cringe, but they'll either be all super close or they'll be super weird in their dynamic and none of them are really close, i.e. Aaron Rodgers' brothers, Jordan Rodgers, when JoJo went and visited and Aaron Rodgers, the NFL quarterback, like weirdly wasn't there, and it was this weird dynamic where they wouldn't say his name like he was Voldemort. Someone in the family doesn't approve of them being on the show, or they don't like the Bachelor or Bachelorette. And then the Bachelor always asks for their hand in marriage, which is super traditional, unlike this crazy premise of a TV show that they're on. Yeah, they basically just go to everyone's hometown and meet their families, and it's either cute or horrifying. After he's been to all 4 hometowns, they do have a rose ceremony where all the women reconvene for the first time since the final 5. And after meeting one of their families, he sends them home. Iconic. And we get to the icing on top of the cake, the best episode of the season, and that is Overnight Dates, or Fantasy Suite. Absolutely my favorite episode of the season because you would not believe what happens on it. Like, I can't believe they do this. Overnight Dates is exactly what it sounds like. Each one of the final 3 women go on a date with the Bachelor, and then it's usually a day-long excursion, and then they'll go to dinner. At dinner, a card is delivered. Where does it come from? I don't know. But it's slipped onto the table, and then we get this card, and the Bachelor will usually be like, pick it up and then hand it to the contestant and kind of look at them while they read it. And the contestant will read it out loud. It always says something like, use this key to forgo your individual rooms and stay as a couple in the fantasy suite. So that's pretty much verbatim what it says. I've seen it enough times, reciting it like poetry. The person will usually always be like, oh, I think this would be a really great opportunity to deepen our relationship. And then the bachelor will be like, I completely agree. No kidding. They'll go and have an overnight date, and then the next morning we get footage of them waking up in bed where the guy's shirtless and the woman is in lingerie, and it's just so... But the most amazing thing that started happening about 3 seasons ago, pretty sure with Peter Weber, Pilot Pete, where they make the final 3 women all stay in the same hotel suite. That means they leave for the overnight dates and return to the same hotel room. So the 2 women will be waiting on the couch for the 3rd girl to return, and she'll walk through the doors with her bed head going and her slippers on, and the other 2 have to just sit there and watch her walk in knowing what happened the night before. One of them will depart within the same 10 minutes as the other girl coming back with her bedhead. And she'll go on her date, they'll have the day portion, the night portion, the card gets slipped, he's watching the girl open it up, and she's like, I think this is a great opportunity for us, and they go and have their overnight date. And then, so savage, after 3 overnight dates have taken place, one of them gets cut, and we have the top 2. And they meet the family, and then basically we have 2 left, and then we cut to the bachelor in their hotel room getting ready for the final rose being given in the middle of nowhere with a very large aisle leading up to it, so we really mount all of the anticipation for who they're gonna pick. We'll have the bachelor out on a pier or something. Let's use a pier as an example. The bachelor is out on the pier, and we'll start with one of the final 2 ladies coming out of the limo, and then she'll have to walk for so godforsaken long. They'll walk all the way up for whatever 30 miles it takes. They always let the girls competing, or the guys competing depending on the season, talk first. So then they have to profess their feelings and then find out after they profess their feelings whether they're actually going to end up with that person or not. And then he'll either dump them or propose and give them the final rose. And after 7 long weeks, we finally get an engagement. They have known each other for a whopping 55 days, and guess what? We are engaged, finally. And then not only do they get to be engaged, but they give away the final rose. After all this is filmed, there's a long time period between when it's edited and then aired, and then towards when we finally get the after the final rose, which is basically the live, current, up-to-date update on what has been going on since filming ended. And it's usually been 2 or 3 months, I think. Not completely sure. As much of an expert as I am on this, my expertise only takes me so far, believe it or not. So we get the after the final rose, where the couple comes and sits down, and we get the heartbroken number 2 on the couch. Usually they'll announce the new bachelor or bachelorette. Oh my god. Oh, I can't believe I forgot this. This is something very important. Before we get the episode with the final 2 and who the bachelor picks, we have between the final 3 turning into a final 2, between those 2 episodes, we have a women tell all. Now let me tell you about this train wreck, because the women tell all is every woman from the season except for the top 2 sitting down live to talk about their experience on the show. They all just catfight on stage for 2 hours of amazing television. So that is a very important episode to the season. Probably runner-up to overnight dates. Yeah, after the final rose, when we announce the next bachelorette, she comes on stage, usually someone who came in 2nd, 3rd, or 4th on the Bachelor season. And we find out that she's getting her redemption arc on her own season of The Bachelorette, where she will have 30 men competing for her, and it will be the exact same as The Bachelor, only reversed in the genders. And also the roses will be pinned on their jackets as opposed to a long stem. Very important distinction. So it basically goes from Bachelor to Bachelorette to Bachelor to Bachelorette, but sometimes they have broken off from this trail and they'll bring on someone random, like Matt James, the first Black Bachelor, was brought on and he had not been a contestant on the show before, or they've brought back someone from a lot of seasons ago. Someone like Brad Womack, who didn't pick either of his top two, only time that's ever happened, and he got a second season where he did pick a lady, but they ended up breaking up. Oh my god, another huge thing I forgot was the first impression rose. How could I forget? The first impression rose is for the first night when the women are coming out of the limo, or the men, to meet the Bachelor or Bachelorette, and at the end of the night we get a first impression rose. And notoriously the women bachelorettes are more accurate in giving out a first impression rose to the person they end up picking than the bachelors. I'm not trying to say anything, but anyway, let's go through some notable figures in Bachelor and Bachelorette that you'll need to know. Just the basics. I'm not going to take you through Alex Michelle, the first Bachelor, all the random people. We'll just do, you know, the important people, the people I care about, which is few. I started watching with Jason's season, and I think that's really a good place to start if you want to go back and watch, because Jason was truly chef's kiss, like gold standard for drama. And what a place to start, because when he picked his girl and then on After the Final Rose he dumps his pick for the runner-up live. Beautiful. Incredible television. Wouldn't take it back for anything. You need to go look that up if you want to, because it is some amazing live TV. Another one is Brad Womack, who I mentioned earlier was the only one to never pick either of their final two. And then he had a second season, Krista and Ryan, who were one of the first couples ever in Bachelor or Bachelorette Nation. And it was Trista, she picked Ryan, and they are still together to this day. They have 2 kids. Hasn't really been replicated since, unless you go to Sean. Sean the Bachelor. Have a special place in my heart for this man because he is from Dallas. Ended up picking Catherine. They're still together to this day, have 3 kids, and live in Dallas. It's just so beautiful. So those are pretty much the exceptions to the rule that these people will not work out together. Then you have Ashley and JP, who were one of the married couples, but just ended up breaking up, sadly, because they have 2 kids. We had Hannah Brown, who picked Jed, the man who just never stopped whipping out his guitar at unexpected moments and singing a song that was just so bad. But then when it was airing, we found out he had a girlfriend because the girlfriend put him on blast. Honestly, Hannah really went wrong when she didn't pick Tyler, because Tyler Cameron is a complete hunk. We have Pilot Pete. Pilot Pete. I really wish I didn't have to talk about Pilot Pete, but he is the most notorious bachelor. I don't even know how to describe this man to you. Basically, he would fall in love with a brick wall. Whatever was in front of him at the time was the love of his life and the woman he wanted to pick. And you can see how this would really not turn out well for him when he has 30. He ends up with Hannah Ann and Madison Pruitt, where Madison Pruitt, I mentioned before that this was the first season that all the final 3 women stayed in the same hotel room for overnights. And Madison Pruitt was one of the final 3, and she was super devoted to Christ and completely against sex before marriage. And she ends up telling him this, and then they have this complete breakdown where everyone's upset and crying, and then he doesn't want to not have sex with the other ones, but she doesn't want to marry a man that would do that. And this ends up being an ongoing theme in the following seasons, like the most recent one. But anyway, she leaves. He proposes to the girl he wasn't gonna pick, named Hannah Ann, and he clearly did not want to. He ends up breaking up with her for Madison, and then on the live show, Madison and his mom end up fighting because his mom liked Hannah Ann. Oh, God, it's so stressful. I'm getting stressed out. Him and Madison on the live show basically say they're gonna give it another go, but they announce the next day that they have decided to break up, even though they never really got together in the first place. Pilot Pete ends up dating, shocker, another girl from the season who he couldn't get over, named Kelly. So Pilot Pete and Kelly go on to have a relationship that ends up lasting like 1 or 2 years, I think. JoJo, who I mentioned earlier, because she ends up picking the brother of Aaron Rodgers, where they had a really mysterious hometown where Aaron Rodgers didn't show up and the family was acting like they couldn't say his name, and it was just a weird dynamic overall. And they've been dating for like 5 years, I think? Has it been 5 years? You know, look this up. No, I don't need to know that information, but it's been like 5 years. She just had her bachelorette party and she's finally getting married, so good for them. Go, Aaron Rodgers' brother Jordan, who we can't say Aaron around. Oh, I forgot the most important part. Bachelor in Paradise. Now, we don't care about Bachelor Pad because now we have something even better, elevated, Bachelor Pad on steroids. It is Bachelor in Paradise. And here we have the biggest disasters from every season showing up on an island. So it's like hot people and hot messes, a fire is exploding between everyone, and people are literally all falling in love with the same person even though there's 12 other options, and then that person is in love with this person who likes that one, and it turns into a chaotic season of people in the sand on an island losing their minds over people they met 30 minutes ago. And it's just everything you would want in a reality TV show. Girls on the island will give their roses to the guy, and then who's ever left will go home, and then the next week the guys get to give out roses to the girls. But what happens in the meantime, like if it's a week where the guys are giving out the roses, multiple women will come to the island. They'll end up having a surplus of women that the men have to cut down with their roses. And then the same thing happens where a bunch of men will show up on the island. I mean, that's a girl's dream. What more could you want, honestly? And this goes on for a few weeks until the producers randomly decide that it's time for the final rose ceremony where couples get engaged. And it's super exciting. It's like, God, I've dated you for 4 weeks. Can we please just get married already? And we get like 3 engaged couples a season. It's incredible. And this happens every summer, people. So we're just spitting out engaged couples left and right each year. And then we have a notoriously terrible record of these couples ever ending up together. I wonder why. This is a waste of time I am very passionate about, and it has been my absolute honor to explain it to you. I'm sorry I don't have a lot of research available. I'm sure there's a lot of statistics on this conversation, a lot of books being written, classes being taught, but right now I'm just here to Audrey K.U. God. On the basics of the conversation, and I might have to do a part 2 because Lord knows there is so much to discuss. Don't even get me started on Jake Pavelka. Like, we have so much to dive into, so let me know if you want a part 2 and I will gladly. If there is one thing in life I know about, it is The Bachelor or Bachelorette in reality TV. I'm not good at sports. I don't really have talents. Don't have hobbies. So reality TV is my place to shine. Thank you so much for watching. It makes me so happy. And please know that I'm here for you if you need someone. Reach out if you do. And please join my community of 30 people. Join the family. We have all the room in the world for you. Please, I mean it. Trust me. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.